Donald Trump is the deep state. The president claims transparency and moral clarity, yet refuses to release the Epstein files, protecting the powerful over the vulnerable. If he's hiding that truth, how can we trust his immigration policies? The ICE crackdowns, his so-called crime and truth executive orders. He talks unity, but funds wars in Ukraine and Israel while letting asylum seekers and their children rot in cages. It's not about law and order anymore. It's about choosing a tolerable level of cruelty. From Gaza to the border, from exploited girls to families deported. We're asking, who gave them the right to decide whose life matters? We all deserve dignity, safety, and the right to exist. Recently, there were attacks on Twitter against Representative Ilhan Omar for her religious beliefs by the attacks were made by Representative Randy Fine here in Florida. It's unacceptable. I'm shocked that person even got elected, and I can't believe that's what the kind of people that we have to deal with in this time. I don't understand why cruelty is becoming normal or even popular. Hulk Hogan recently passed away, and as a fan when I was younger, it hurts me to say that this guy became super racist late in life, and I mean, I guess he was racist all his life, but I mean, that's not even the issue that bothers me. What bothers me is how casual it was. And on the 4th of July this year, he took a picture holding an American flag at Alligator Alcatraz here in Florida, posing with guys in cages behind him. That's your idea of freedom? It's getting real dark. It's getting really 1933 outside. I also want to call out any members of Congress who continue to justify sending weapons to the Middle East. There's no such thing as a defensive weapon. Let's just be honest. All weapons are offensive, and offense can be used for defense. But let's be honest here. What we're experiencing right now, what we're witnessing in real time, is what the United Nations has already labeled a genocide. It is not a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It is a genocide. Since the war began on October 7, 2023, at least 60,000 Palestinians have died, including over 59,700 confirmed dead by July 27, 2025, with more than half of them women and children. Every video I've tried to make on this subject has gotten taken down or blocked. The Epstein stuff also. In that same sense, TikTok is being banned in September, so understand why. China is supporting the Palestine. Everything connects if you follow. Now that being said, you can follow me on Instagram at Cruz Paul R, or on YouTube at Paul Ron Cruz. So everybody that's on TikTok, please follow me there. You can contribute to the campaign, and I'll be outlining how we can fight back. It's not enough to just know what's happening, because there's so much happening. I want to outline what a senator is supposed to do, what our government is supposed to do, and what I can do, and what we can do to fight back. And so, independent studies estimate that the death toll may range between 77,000 and 109,000. When accounting for indirect deaths, the collapse of hospitals, malnutrition, and... In the Senate, there's a congressional vote on arms. In the Senate, Bernie Sanders-led resolutions sought to block new offensive weapon transfers, excess of $20 billion, but were defeated. Only a small number of senators backed the block. Only a small number of senators backed it. 15 Democratic senators supported blocking weapons, names including Bernie Sanders, Mazie Hirono, Ben Ray Lujan, Chris Van Hollen, Jeff Merkley, Ed Markey, Tim Kaine, Elizabeth Warren, Martin Heinrich, Brian Schatz, Tina Smith, Dick Durbin, Peter Welch, and Chris Murphy. Likewise, only a handful of House representatives, Representative Rashida Tlaib, Cory Bush, Jim McGovern, Barbara Lee, Jan Schakowsky, Pramila Jayapal, and others, have endorsed efforts to block offensive arms transfers. The lies and the documented atrocities. Human rights groups and independent sources report repeated targeting of civilians, starvation tactics, and attacks on displaced families sheltering in evacuation zones. Estimates show 60 to 80% of deaths are civilians, mostly women and children, with ratios as high as 4-to-1 civilian to combatant. UN agencies report over 1,000 Gazans killed while seeking aid since May alone. These patterns suggest violations of international humanitarian law and raise widespread accusations of war crimes and genocide. On July 24, 2025, France, the first G7 country, announced it will officially recognize the State of Palestine at the UN General Assembly in September. French officials say this move aims to push forward a two-state solution, create international momentum, and exert pressure on Western governments, including the UK and the US. Trump's recent executive actions and his authoritarian executive orders intensifying policing, criminalizing homelessness, stripping regulatory safeguards, and targeting immigrants, especially children, with mass deportation. They dismantle civil rights protections, institutionalize racial profiling, and undermine public health, housing rights, and constitutional accountability. All of this falls under, in working with the One Big Beautiful Bill, which guts Medicaid, slashes food aid, blocks immigrants from basic support, kills jobs, all while handing billions in tax breaks to the ultra-rich like Elon Musk, while bankrupting hospitals, kicking families off health care, and fueling climate and humanitarian crises all over the world. What can we do? We must organize, educate, and vote to repeal the One Big Beautiful Bill Act in 2026. Pressure your representatives now. I will do what I can. Support lawsuits and resistance at the state level, and elect new Congress ready to use reconciliation to undo this disaster. Repealing this bill is how we protect dignity, justice, and our future. And every single person who's not doing their job needs to be challenged in Congress. I don't care what color. I don't care whether it's left or right. The future is central. From what I'm hearing, our government is compromised anyway. Look into Dan Bongino's recent memo, and that will begin to... things are starting to get really crazy. That's why the news has been so heavy. But how do we influence U.S. policy? Number one, we need to understand and amplify the voices of dissenters in Congress. As I mentioned earlier, we need to recognize the handful of senators and representatives that are willing to oppose arms transfers. Thank them publicly, support their campaigns, and push for more lawmakers to join. We need to contact your elected officials. Write or call your senator or rep. Urge them to support blocking U.S. weapons to Israel if international law violations are ongoing. Ask for transparency, how aid is being tracked and assessed. Ask questions. Just ask a lot of questions. There's no need to be rude. Advocate for a deeper dialogue. Offer to host virtual town halls or meetings where constituents can engage with staffers and legislators to discuss the complexities of Gaza, law, ethics, humanitarian needs, and diplomatic strategies. Leverage France's move as leverage domestically. Highlight France's recognition as a model for U.S. moral leadership. Push for the U.S. to join in pushing for a more formal two-state path and new peace diplomacy. Collective Western alignment can shift. Humanize the narrative. Share stories and data around civilian deaths, children malnourished, and aid access blocked. Help policymakers see beyond abstractions to real human suffering. By organizing around emails, calls, forums, and public campaigns, we can demand accountability, not just continued arms, but ethical, humanitarian support, political negotiation, and lasting peace. This is about lifting up human dignity and self-determination for all. Just remember that Donald Trump is the deep state. When Epstein headlines hit, he bombed Iran, or he just attacks Biden or Obama online and threatens them with jail time, fires off Twitter feuds, or blames migrants. Always louder drama to bury the narrative. When Epstein court files resurfaced, he pushed executive orders, attacked, quote, deep state officials, and staged rallies to change the media narrative. It's not working. This is a pattern. Chaos, outrage, culture war talking points to drown out the real accountability. It's all a distraction. A bait and switch presidency built on distraction. First the files exist, then they were on the AG's desk, then they don't exist anymore. Then they do exist, but they're actually a Democrat hoax. And then it's not real again, but suddenly Trump knows he's on the list, and he was briefed about being on the list way back in May, and can now provide a list of names himself, names that supposedly aren't in a list that doesn't exist or does exist, but only as a hoax. Look, I've lost the plot on that, and I don't care anymore. I don't care how many powerful or influential people are on the list. All of them need to be investigated. Republicans, Democrats, everyone who was complicit, had knowledge of, and participated in crimes, even if current or former president of the United States of America himself is implicated, they must release the files.